guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing makeup on my beautiful client. So yeah, let's get into it. I already primed her skin. I used the Rimmel London Stay Matte Primer. She's not really oily except of course in her T-zone area, so I moisturized her skin and then I primed her T-zone area. So I was just trimming her brows. I'm going into foundation. I'm using the Juvia's Place foundation in the shade Kampala. I know it's a little light for her, but this is what I usually do just to make her skin one color. I'm gonna go over with a little bit of a darker color that is warm, and it's gonna blend in very beautifully. Like, this is all about blending, so yeah, I'm blending it in with a Real Techniques face aspect brush. So as you can see, it's blending in very beautifully. I'm going over with the L'Oreal True Match foundation in the shade 10C. I'm gonna go over and blend it out as well. So I'm going over to blend out her face with a beauty blender. It looks like I'm pounding her face, but I'm really not. It's because it's moving fast. Every time you make a video 2 times or 3 times faster than it already is, it just looks a little too harsh. But yeah, I am blending it with a damp beauty blender to take off any excess product and to make sure everything is blended in well. So I'm going to contour her face with the Black Opal Stick foundation in the shade Ebony Brown. I'm just going to go over the perimeter of her face and the sides of the bridge of her nose. This is a really warm color. She didn't need a lot of contouring, but you know, it just brings the face back to life, because especially I used like a full coverage foundation too, so her face looked a little too flat. So I'm going over with a contour. So I'm just blending it out into her hairline and upwards on the cheekbones and upwards on the jawline. Again, I'm going over with a damp beauty blender, the beauty blender which I used to blend out the foundation. I'm using to blend out the contour so that it would appear a little more softer and look, you know, blended into the skin, look seamless. Like, this is like so bomb when you do this. Like, I always do this with my makeup, so I decided to show you guys how I do it on someone else. So I'm just going over mainly wherever else I contoured. I'm going in to conceal with a Maybelline Instant AG1 concealer in the shade Tan. This has a very beautiful golden undertone. So yeah, this is like a highlight shade for hair, but you know, yeah, I'm just going over to contour under her eyes, here, the mustache area, the chin, the bridge of the nose, as well as the forehead. Usually the areas that I would highlight, and I'm going over into the really, the inner corners of the eyes with the Too Faced Born This Way multi-sculpting concealer and the shade Butterscotch, just to have a little bit of a highlight under her eyes. So I'm going over to blend her concealer with a brush from Evita Joseph. You just have to do small tapping motions just to make sure everything is blending out really beautifully. So I'm going to go over wherever I highlighted with the same brush and just blend it out. So I'm going to blend under her eyes, I mean the edges of the area under her eyes, and allow the area that is most close to her under eyes to just rest a bit, so I can get a fuller coverage from there, because I put the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in her inner corners. So that's going to give it a very full coverage. So for that side, I'm going in with a beauty blender just to blend it out, because it looks a little more seamless, and just to give it a little more coverage and make sure that it doesn't settle in any creases. So I'm just going in with soft tapping motions. I'm going back in with the contour brush to make sure that there's no line of demarcation. So I'm going to go back and forth with the contour brush and the beauty blender to make sure everything is blended out and seamless. So I'm going back in with the brush I used to blend out her contour without any extra product, just to make sure that the contour is brought back to life, because the highlighting might have overshadowed it a bit. So yeah, I'm just going back in with a beauty blender again to make sure everything is super blended out. So I'm going in to set her under eyes. I'm using the Laura Mercier translucent powder. I'm just pushing it into her under eyes, and before I set it, I go back in with a brush to make sure all the concealer that has settled in the creases are blended out before I set, so that their under eyes looks really airbrushed. So I'm going in to push the powder in to make sure everything is really seamless. I know people are afraid to use the Laura Mercier translucent powder, especially on darker skin tones, but it's really translucent and it's really beautiful and it's really airbrushed. You guys are going to see how I'm going to bring her under eyes back to life with a yellow tinted powder in just a sec. But for now, I am just setting wherever else I put the concealer, and I'm setting her eyebrows as well. I just go over that area lightly, and I am setting doing the reverse contour, sort of setting everywhere else with the same Laura Mercier translucent powder. course, I did her brows off camera, but I have a detailed brow tutorial on my channel. It's not any different. I'm going in to bake with a Sasha Buttercup setting powder. This is perfect for darker skin tones because it has a very light yellow undertone to it. I still bake for some of my clients because of the skin type they have, even though there are trends saying that baking is outdated and stuff like that. But I still do what works for most clients because trends come and go, so you need to stick to what works for you. So yeah, I am doing the reverse contour with the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter setting powder in the shade Honey because that is a little muted and that would just blend into her skin. So I'm going back into her eyebrows. I'm using the Vita Joseph Expert brow liner just to go over and make sure that the eyebrow shape is exactly how I want it to look, and you know, making sure that everything looks really nice. So for the eyes, I'm going in with the Morphe 39A eyeshadow palette, and I'm just, you know, blending a really soft brown color into her crease. I used two colors essentially for this look, and I just kept packing the brown color. You guys are going to see how I do it, but for now I am just, you know, blending it into her crease and then just, you know, edging it out to make it look really nice and smoked out. So I'm going into the Juvia's Place Magic eyeshadow palette. I'm using a really nice gold color for her eyelid. I did like a full cut crease. I didn't use concealer to cut her crease. I just used the eyeshadow, like the gold eyeshadow, because, you know, I couldn't be bothered and it's just really pigmented, so there was no need for me to use concealer to cut her crease before going in with the eyeshadow. So this is like really nice. She really liked this eye look because, you know, she wanted something subtle, something glam, and this ended up looking really pretty. So I ended up going back in with a Morphe 39A eyeshadow palette. The color that I went into her crease with is what I'm using to smoke out the gold color to make sure that there's no harsh line. So I just used two colors for this eye look and it came out really nice. So I'm going over her face with a brush, a powder brush, just to make sure everything is blended out and nice. I dusted off all the excess powder and I'm applying the Milani Big Blush in the shade Red Vinyl because she really liked that color. So yeah, I also applied her eyelashes off camera. I'm using the Fenty Beauty Sunstalker bronzer in the shade Mocha Mami to bronze her skin. It's like really pretty for darker skin tones, but it doesn't work for my skin tone because it's way too red. So I am just, lining her lip with a dark brown lip liner, which looked really nice. And I'm going into the center of her lip with a the Beauty Creations matte liquid lipstick in the shade Unforgettable, and I went in with a clear gloss from HIJABI Cosmetics. This is like a classic nude lip, and it looked really nice. So I'm setting her face with the Morphe Continuous Setting Spray to depowder her face and make sure everything melts into the skin. Like I said earlier, she has an oily T-zone, so I went in with the Benai Final Seal to make sure everything stays matte a little longer. For highlights in her inner corners and everywhere else, I'm using the MAC Cosmetics Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Gold Deposit, which is really nice for darker skin tones. It doesn't work for every skin tone, but this really looked nice on her skin. So I am just highlighting her cheekbones. I think this was her favorite part because she really liked how it looked. So I went in to use some brow gel for her brows to make sure they stay put and stay in place. I asked her before doing this because she wanted her brows to look a little feathered, and I'm going over her lower lashes with some mascara. I'm gonna go over her top lashes as well to make sure they are blended in with the eyelashes. This is how I do it to avoid messing up the eyes and to avoid poking her eyes actually. So yeah, this works quite nicely. So this is the finished look. She kept switching wigs, but this is how the makeup ended up looking. She really loved it, and she looked so pretty. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.